There we are. Hello and welcome to the Pod of the Damned. I'm your host Ian. Hello and joining me as always is our co-host Nico. A whole load of technical issues there.
You okay there?
No, well, when I clicked us onto our live screen, me and you didn't pop up for a few seconds, so I immediately went to be like, oh shit, why are we not popping up? And then we popped up. And then, obviously, I'm watching the stream back on another channel to make sure that everything is coming through. But I forgot to mute that, so I then heard myself back, like a split second later. It's a pretty much trademark of this podcast, isn't it? That I'm just shit at intros.
Yeah, you've always got to do something, but you never tell me, like, beforehand how bad you're going to fuck it up.
No, I like to keep you in the dark, to be honest, about a lot of things, but... Yeah, we're back, Nico. We had a week off there, and we're back.
Yeah. And then I'm away.
You don't seem so excited about it.
I'm just laughing because I'm away again. Remember?
Yeah. Me and Nico obviously will be recording again at the weekend for next week's episode. But you're going to be away in Czechia for 2 weeks.
In where?
Czechia.
Oh, Czechia, you mean? No, it's not Czechia. If you say that Czech Republic person, they go fucking mental.
Is that not
Czech Republic.
Is that not what it's called now?
It's the equivalent of us saying Glasgow. For the whole of the country.
Okay, well, no, because, honestly, if you want, for example, we were just talking about the football before we came on air. If you go onto, Sky Sports, the app, it has Czechia now instead of Czech Republic.
Czechia, not Czechia.
I'm just... I don't think we've got any listeners from there, to be honest.
Well, the way it basically works is there's different regions, and it's basically saying, if Glasgow and Edinburgh are together, that's Czechia, basically.
Czechia.
Thanks for correcting me, but I'm right, mate. Anyway.
Anywho, so you're going to be abroad.
I'll be nearer Bruno.
So Nico's going to be, after next week's show, going to be taking a week off the show. You're away for 2 weeks, but we'll record one of those weeks so that people can still see your beautiful face for one of those weeks. But for the second week, we'll have either a replacement special guest or Anna will join us for an episode. And then Nico will be back and we'll be talking about all the usual shit that we'll be talking about. Today, though, is episode number 87, and we're talking all about the 1999 movie Stir of Echoes. Nico, this was your choice of movie. Was this a request, or did you pick this? This was a request from from a while ago, to be fair.
Yeah, this is my mate Amanda, who used to work at Trop years ago, by the way. She requested this.
I mean, it's funny because this is one that sort of, I hadn't seen this before. This was a new one for me. So this is one.
Did you know?
No, I'd heard of it.
Yeah.
But I can't. I think I can. I don't know what I was confusing it for. I think I was maybe confusing it for something else because I always had it in my head that this was renowned as being one of the worst films. But I think I was confusing it with something else. So it always put me really off of watching it. And Boomer's like The Sixth Sense. No, I didn't think it was The Sixth Sense. I'm very well aware that this isn't The Sixth Sense. I'm sure
a lot of folk do get them confused.
I'm sure we'll definitely get to that though at some point in the discussion because there is a point of discussion to be had there. I can't remember what it was, but regardless, I just always had in my head that this was a really terrible movie, not even so bad it's good, which it's not, and we'll obviously get to that throughout the course of the movie. So I was quite pleasantly surprised, I think, when I first got into watching it. People will be delighted, I think, when they find out what we're covering next week, Nico. We'll save that for the very, very end of the episode. I kind of wonder what your face was like when I told you that's what we were going to be doing next week. Yeah, I'm excited for it. I watched it this afternoon, Nico, which was the first time I'd watched that as well, and holy fucking shit. Have you seen it yet?
No, not yet. I'm saving it for fresh in my mind.
Okay. everyone, like, everyone who's in the chat, Boomer, Vika's in the chat, I think Tim from Horror Flicks and Guitar Picks is in the chat. Have a guess, see what you can think, based on that little description, have a guess at what you think we're going to be covering next week on the show. Boomer says...
It's a movie I never thought I would be watching, to be honest.
Put it this way, when I watched, when we were watching it this afternoon, there's something very surreal about it. Like, there's a point in the movie where you're just like, I can't fucking believe. I couldn't believe, like, throughout my entire childhood that one day I'd be watching this horror movie. But anywho...
That sort of gives it away.
Oh, well, you never know. You never know. Boomer says, am I confusing it with The Haunting with Liam Neeson? Because that's a big pile of shit. I actually don't mind that movie. Like, I know that movie's shit. But
Jesus, I just remember which movie that was. Fuck.
That, like, you think of the cast of that movie. You had, like, Catherine Zeta-Jones and Owen Wilson and Liam Neeson. Like, that was like, fucking huge. Anyway. Yes. Before
Liam Neeson was in a few horror films. He was in one back in the day, and it had Daryl Hannah and everyone in it as well, and that was shit as well.
Liam Neeson and Daryl Hannah. What the fuck movie was that?
Fucking can't. I will look it up.
If anyone can, okay, this is the good thing about doing things live, Nico. We now have a chat room with people in it who can look shit up for us because we're busy recording and talking, Nico.
Instead of one of us waffling on and hiding the other one looking it up.
Yeah, like we would never ever be accused of doing that. We've never done that. Ever. We've got a couple of things to talk about, Nico, before we actually get into the movie discussion for the week, and it's going to piss off, people who really piss off. I keep seeing like what?
Guess what it's called?
Oh no, what's it?
It was in 1988.
Oh fuck!
Guess what it's called? Right, he puts on a shit Scottish accent and everything. It was called High Spirit.
Yeah, Boomer just beat you to it in the chat.
Oh!
Literally just beat you to a High Spirit.
It was fucking gosh.
Was that bad? I've not seen that movie. I don't think I'm going to plan on watching it anytime soon.
The thing is, they're meant to be Irish and they put on fake Scottish accents. You're like, what the fuck is going on in this?
Yeah, I mean, like everyone puts on every fucker puts on a fake Scottish accent. It's I think it's pretty part and parcel, isn't it? Boomer says he's now going to go and watch it.
It is so bad, it's good though.
Well, anyways, as I was saying, in our last episode that me and Nico recorded, which was on The Descent, which feels like an age ago, we've released a couple of new episodes of our Bucket List Horror series featuring Tim from the Horror Flicks and Guitar Picks podcast, also featuring David and Crystal from the House That Screams podcast, talking about the movie's Audition and talking about the 1977 movie The Car. So go check out those episodes. They're two really good, fun episodes. But on that last episode, Nico, we talked about figuring out, because obviously, as everyone knows, one of the big premises around this podcast is our horror movie leaderboard. And we talked about figuring out what our individual top 10s were.
Yeah. And
I decided to sort of put that out there. We made some graphics up for it, put it out there and see what people thought of our top 10. So, for those who maybe didn't see those posts across our social media, this is Nico's top 10. So, no surprise, I think, at number 1 for you was The Lost Boys.
Should win everything.
And then, running down in order, you had The Omen in second, The Thing, They Live, Army of Darkness, The Cabin in the Woods, Dog Soldiers, Tucker and Dale vs. Evil, Halloween, and Hellraiser.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry to say, Nico, that you only, because I asked on our social medias for people to give us who they thought had the better top 10. And it was very, very close because you got 48% of the votes.
Oh, hello, Annie. That's not bad.
So, my top 10, obviously, coming in at number 1 was Halloween. Then I had The Thing, Alien, Candyman, Event Horizon, Hereditary, Reanimator, Hellraiser, Saw, American Psycho, and I got 52% of the votes. Across Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So, very, very close. I think it pretty much comes down to your personal preference, really, doesn't it? And what you sort of prefer. You've got probably a little touch more of sort of the horror comedy aspects in there with Tucker and Dale and Cabin in the Woods and Dog Soldiers, and
And They Live.
They Live as well, yeah, and Army of Darkness.
Yep.
And when you look at my top 10, there's a lot less sort of comedy in there. In fact, there may be American Psycho. There's certain aspects of that that are pretty funny, but aside from that, Reanimator as well, I probably could go for too. But aside from that, not so much in my top 10. But a couple. So someone commented and said that I shouldn't have any more opinions because I have Hereditary in my top 10. That my opinions are incredibly invalid and your top 10 is far superior to my top 10. So I decided to look up their profile, and they're massive racists.
Oh, God.
So I was like, fuck you, no one cares about your opinion.
Don't associate me with racists.
I can't help that the racists like your top 10.
Do you want to get cancelled? No, I'm joking.
Oh, I've just had a heart attack.
Oh, no.
Right. Shall we get into the movie topic?
Oh, please.
Please, just to stop you. We're talking all about Stir of Echoes.
How does every racist joke start? No.
Right,
Anyway.
this movie was released in 1999, was directed by David Cope, and stars Kevin Bacon, Zachary David Cope, and Catherine Irby. The IMDb plot is as follows. After being hypnotized by his sister-in-law, a man begins seeing haunting visions of a girl's ghost, and a mystery begins to unfold around him. This, like I say, before we get into it, we'll do the leaderboard predictions, Nico. This is the 83rd movie that we'll have now covered on the show. Where do you think Stir of Echoes is going to land on the leaderboard?
See, this is a weird one.
It's a tough one, this, isn't it?
Yeah, because I know this might sound mean, but a lot of ladies love this horror movie.
Would that have something to do with a certain Mr. Bacon?
Being topless 90% of the time,
yeah. Being topless a lot of the time, yeah.
Yeah. Like, doing housework as well, whilst topless, just, that was it. So, but a lot of guys were like, this is shit. So, I'd say about a 6.5 or a 7.
A 6.5 or a 7. So that would put this movie somewhere in the region of around 50, pretty much between like 40 and 50.
Right.
Would roughly be where that would put this movie. Boomer's saying it would be, this is going to come in 39th place. That's what Boomer says.
39. So what about with 90?
And you're saying 40, about 40 to 50. So you're kind of in the same sort of ballpark area. Also, just
I'd say probably neither 40 than 50.
Yeah. Okay. Also, just to touch on that, Boomer also says just earlier there in the chat, for me, our top 10 our top 10s are tied. He thinks I have the higher highs, but your top 10 is slightly more consistent.
Why, thank you, Boomer.
So, you know, both compliments and backhanded compliments there for the both of us, I think. Nico, your movies aren't anywhere near as good as my movies, but half of my movies are shit.
I've got steady 7s. You've got 9s to 1s.
Listen, no woman goes for Mr. Consistent. That's all I'm saying.
They do if you varies it up, put it that way.
Heather Newman.
If you could be consistently that good, they definitely say it.
Newman in the chat's coming in saying it has to be top 15 or he riots.
I don't think it's going to get that high because I remember like they weren't really big on this, the critics.
Well, we'll get to all that when we get to that portion of the episode. We should probably start talking about this movie because people who hate the fact that podcasts, actually have some chat and do some interactions and show some, personality at the beginning of their episodes, that's not allowed. We just need to get straight into the movie topic. So
Let's try and get it under an hour this time.
We're already at 15 minutes. Right.
Just so you know, Shira is here, by the way.
There we go. The star of the Descent episode.
I was told that she's now should be known as the third host.
The third host. Oh, Anna will be raging.
Because she makes so much fucking noise in the background. That's why I got her.
Do I need to tell Anna she's been demoted to fourth host?
Unless she starts making meowing noises in the background, she's demoted.
I make her purr on the regular. She's sitting here and giving me the most evil looks right now. Oh, she just told me she didn't actually hear what I was saying. That's probably a good thing. Okay, that's fine.
That's probably a good thing that you weren't telling her you were stroking her pussy. But anyway, okay there. You're looking a bit red.
It's warm. It's a bit warm tonight, isn't it?
Just a touch, yeah.
Boomer says, if this movie had Bruce Willis and was written by Shyamalan, although you spell it Shyamalamalan, people would rate it top 15. People would rate it top 15. Well, let's talk about it, because we've already kind of mentioned it, that there is similarities in this movie, isn't there, with The Sixth Sense. They both came out in
same year, was it not?
They both came out in 1999, and it's fair to say that in terms of like financial success and the movie that's been remembered, The Sixth Sense is far, far, far overshadowed Stud of Echoes. Would you say that that's something that should have happened? Do you think Stud of Echoes deserves more recognition for the movies that you've used to sit and compare the two movies? Do you think that The Sixth Sense is a far superior movie?
So the way I see it is, Sixth Sense is one of those cinema blockbuster ones. You go in once, you'll remember it the rest of your life, but you probably won't watch it that much over and over again. This one, I'm not joking. I've seen it on TV when it's been on. And I've sat and watched it. Whilst if I see The Sixth Sense on, I'm like, yeah, seen it. You know what I mean? This I've watched again and again.
Yeah.
So it's they're both good movies. One isn't really better than the other, but one did better than the other, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. It's one of those things, isn't it? Like, I don't really remember. I was 8 when The Sixth Sense and this came out, so I don't really remember the push. Was there a push, like, about marketing? Like, I don't know if you remember either, but marketing-wise, did The Sixth Sense just have that much bigger push?
See, when this came out, I think I was about 18 when this came out.
You will have been. You're 10 years older than me, so if I was 8, you'd have been 18.
Yeah. So I was trying to work it out in my head there for a second. But yeah, thanks for doing the math for me.
That's alright, it is difficult to count in tens, Nico.
That is very true. So yeah, basically, yeah, I remember there was a massive push for Sixth Sense. Like a massive, massive push for that. I don't remember much of a push for this.
Well,
but I do remember seeing this. Like, I don't think I saw it in the cinema though.
I think for me as well, and it maybe is something that might not really apply right then and there in the moment when it first released, but I think in terms of the longevity of the movies as well, The Sixth Sense has that moment, doesn't it? That like everyone will talk about, and everyone knows that it has that I see dead people moment, isn't it? That is one of the most it doesn't matter how big a fan you are of horror movies or non-horror movies or whatever genre, everyone knows I see dead people, where that's from, and what that's all about. There isn't that moment in Stud of Echoes.
Yeah, like there was something that happened with Stud of Echoes as well. Because I can't remember if somebody shot themselves or something like that, and this got like put on the back burner. It didn't get pushed for it.
Really?
And it was there was something happened at the time. It was like when 9/11 happened, and they stopped that movie with John Travolta because the bus goes into a building.
The
same sort of thing,
Yeah.
I
always try and look up some trivia surrounding the movie, and I don't think I actually read anything about that. So that's interesting if that's the case. It
was a girl that was telling me it, and I was like, I didn't know fuck all about it, to be honest. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, that happened, and it was like basically not as popular, you know.
Yeah. Newman in the chat says Big Trouble starring Tim Allen had the same thing. In fairness, I think everything that's got Tim Allen in it should probably just be pushed back and back and back and back and back and back.
But it was definitely something in the public eye, and when this was out, folk
Yeah.
were like, "Oh, you shouldn't go see it because of it."
Yeah. Very. Oh, that's certainly interesting. But it's not just the Sixth Sense at this.
I remember the one I was trying to reference.
Okay.
Swordfish. I remember the same thing happened with Swordfish.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
For
Yeah.
like a week and then.
Yeah. Okay. I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah.
The Sixth Sense is not the only movie though that this that Stud of Echoes gets compared to. It also has comparisons made to it about an absolute classic horror movie, The Shining. And I think this is where, you know, it starts to get that I don't think it is quite right. It's almost like that sort of Mandela effect, you know, when you think something is the case when it's not really the case. Because people always have leveled to this movie and said, oh, you know, parts of it seem very ripped off from The Shining. However, this is based on a novel from 1958, way before King wrote The Shining. So in actual fact, it's King who ripped a little bit, ripped Stud of Echoes. But because The Shining is obviously that much more popular and is such a huge horror movie, this movie got criticised for having a similarity to that.
Okay. I'd heard the comparisons, but I didn't really see it, if you know what I mean.
I mean, like, you can see there's the similarities in there in terms of, you know, they have that, they have The Shining sort of thing, you know?
Aye, but it's like, in this, it's the same as every, like, haunted movie. Kids can see ghosts, that's what they say. And then in this, it's his mind gets unlocked by, basically, being hypnotized. Oh, you're in the 1% that can be hypnotized, so you can see dead people too. Yeah. Is basically what it is.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting take on it, but I see that to do.
Yeah, because did she not say? Was it the 8% she said in this movie?
Something like that.
It's like the 8. Which
is a thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So she pretty much says in this. Well, that's the thing, because that's another interesting thing. The actual hypnotizing like routine, if you want to call it that, or however you want to call it, is apparently how that would actually work. So when they were putting that scene on, they had to put a musical cue throughout that whole scene where they were actually hypnotizing Kevin Bacon, because they were worried that they were going to hypnotize the audience.
Because the hypnotizing thing, I know an interesting fact about this. The old school way they used to do it, they used to get you and hypnotize you beforehand and then hypnotize you in front of the audience. That's how they used to do it.
Yeah.
And there was a girl I knew who used to be able to hypnotize folk, and she's like, if you never want to be hypnotized, when they get you to do the hand holding thing, don't make your palms touch.
Yeah.
Because for some reason it doesn't let your mind do it when your palms are not touching.
Okay.
So when they're telling you to touch your palms together, it fucking does something to your head.
Okay. Well, that's
and that actually works, by the way, because I know an army that hypnotizes folk.
Yeah. No, that because that's like that's a side of the world I genuinely sort of know nothing about, so it's just very interesting. The movie.
Weird how it works, though, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. The movie. It's a really strange movie. I'm not quite sure. Like, yeah, I was pleasantly surprised that this wasn't the worst movie I've ever seen. Like, I was potentially thinking I was going to be at one point. But there's part of me that just doesn't really quite know how to feel about this movie, because I don't, like, there's just something a bit, there always seems to be something a little bit off.
But I think it's trying to do that.
No. I'm not necessarily leveling that to as a criticism of the movie.
Oh no, I don't mean that either. I'm just meaning I think it's trying to do that. I think it's one of those films that it wants to have you off put by it.
Yeah.
You know, something like it's like slightly distasteful, but at the same time, like it's an entertaining movie, and it's actually a really good movie, I think.
There's just a
lot in it that's like been stolen into other movies now.
Yeah, it's just the vibe of it just seems like the pacing of the movie at times seems a little bit off. You know, the whole sort of general vibe seems a little bit weird. There's that kind of low level tension But sometimes I can't. Sometimes I think of this movie and I was like, there are sort of aspects of it like there doesn't apart. Obviously, he gets hypnotized and there's consequence to that. But there's lots in this movie that seems to happen that there doesn't really seem to be any sort of major consequence for the character. Like as the movie goes on, Kevin Bacon's character Tom gets sort of like becomes like a worse and worse partner to Maggie,
Yeah.
and it gets to the point where they sort of blow up and they have that massive argument in the back garden, and he's like shouting in her face and everything. There doesn't seem to really be any consequence to his actions because she I know she says, at worst she's like, ever do that again and I'll be out
Yeah.
of here. There's no other real consequence to that, and I think there is almost like a lack of danger, if that's the right way to put it. There doesn't feel like there's huge stakes for a large part of this movie, and that's a bit of an issue for me.
See, it's a weird movie. Like from the babysitter onwards, it gets all. It's like there's bits missing out the movie. It feels like
Yeah. Yeah. No.
because
Yeah.
like the whole babysitter in the train station thing. And I know it's trying to do that. I know it's trying to be like, well, he's just unlocking this stuff. It's just developing in his head. He doesn't know how it's working. It's just working that way. But like that first bit where he's looking at the photo, like you're thinking to yourself, is this going to be a movie where he's like drunk, drive, killed her or something?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You're
Yeah.
thinking something like that, which
Yeah.
is I throw off because it's implying sort of that way as well. Because the way he's acting at a train station, have you seen this girl and all that? And he's looking away all guilty as fuck by the looks of it.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, let's jump straight through to that then, because obviously, the movie in the end sort of centers around this girl's is it Samantha? Her name is it Samantha? I think it's Samantha.
Yeah,
Um,
I was just looking up her name just
yeah,
now. Yeah,
it just
Samantha.
escaped me. The movie ends up sort of centering around the disappearance of this girl Samantha, who's sort of just randomly vanished, and people are saying that she's just sort of like wandered off or she ran away, and some people are saying no, that's not the case. And we've got to try and sort of solve this mystery. And like you say, in that scene there where the babysitter tries to steal the kid, and they're sort of challenging Kevin Bacon to look at this photograph. You do kind of get the suspicion of, oh right, okay, is he hiding something here? Like,
Yeah,
is this the missing piece of the puzzle? But at the same time, whilst all this is, then you've got this whole sort of movie where he's obsessed by digging in the back garden. He's obsessed by a whole variety of different things, and that really does add to the confusion a little bit because on the one hand you're like, well, I'm not sure if he's actually done it or not, and then on the other hand, you've got him having this really obsessive behavior, and you're not quite sure why that happens. But by this point as well, what's also confusing because the first portion of the movie really sort of focuses on the kids' abilities and the fact that the kids
yeah.
can talk to people. That does kind of seem to be forgotten about for a large part of the movie once Tom gets the ability to also see things.
But like I remember in the 80s, every family had a kid that had that imaginary friend or a ghost that they talk to.
Can I just
So
say, by
you
the
can
way,
sort of understand that. You know what I mean?
if I ever have a kid and he starts talking to imaginary, I'm just gonna put him straight up for adoption.
I'm okay, Daddy.
No, fuck spooky kids. There'll be no spooky kids in this house. I'm the spookiest thing in this house. All right? I wonder, like, because I know obviously some people in the chat have kids, and I know when I was growing up that there were times where I was a spooky child.
Yeah.
I used to sleepwalk and all that, and used to, I think, talk to people in my sleep, and I think I freaked my parents out a couple of times with that. I know obviously for anyone who's in the chat who has children, have you ever had that sort of experience where you've had like a really spooky instant where your child's done something really creepy and spooky? That would be, I think, an interesting sort of topic point. But you're right. There is a bit of a trope, but again, it's like a trope that wasn't really popularized at this time. Like it was the Sixth Sense that popularized all these, like really popularized this trope. Yes, it had happened before, but in terms of popularizing,
bringing it back to bring it back, Sixth Sense brought it back. That was the thing about it.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. You can't really level it at at Stud of Echoes, because at the time of release, it wasn't really a huge trope at that point, and then Sixth Sense happened, and then boof, it did become one.
I think this was this out first. I can't remember.
I'm not sure on the exact time of the year it came out, but I think there may be, even though they might have only been like a couple of months apart.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure this got fucked because of that thing, whatever it was.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was something to do with a shooting or something.
Just while you're thinking of that, Boomer in the chat says, I never thought Tom killed the girl, and I just took his behaviour as being influenced by the spirit, which is also the cause of his breakdown of character, the stress of the situation. Not that it excuses his actions, just that whatever flaws he had to begin with are magnified under the stress of what he's dealing with.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like,
Newman,
but I definitely thought he was like the killer.
Newman also says, also all that digging, I'd get moody if I've had too much exercise.
I think it's because he knows it's there. He knows the body's there.
Well,
is it not? He's trying to protect his kid. That's the thing.
Well, let's talk about the big final reveal then, because at the very end of obviously, we find out, we eventually get the sort of scene of Samantha's death. And from what I've been reading online, I've actually seen quite a lot of complaints about that scene, due to the sort of disturbing nature of it. I mean, we essentially she dies because the two sons of Tom's neighbors attempted to rape her and accidentally suffocated her to death.
Is there not three of them?
No, there's just the two. I thought there was three. You see, that's the thing, because when I watched it, I thought there was three of them as well, but there's only two of them in that scene.
Oh, okay, I thought it was three. Because it looked like he was raping her and two other ones grabbed the sheet.
Yeah. No, it's just the one.
Oh, okay.
I got confused by that as well. I initially thought there was three, but there's only the two. There's the two pals of Tom only have one son each.
Oh, okay.
So
fair enough.
That's how I have seen online quite a lot of complaints about that scene. Listen, that subject matter, like we've briefly touched upon it before. We're gonna touch upon it again in a future in some future episodes with some of the topics that we're going to be covering. It is a very touchy subject.
Yeah,
and rightfully so.
The thing is, in this one, I think it makes it worse because she's meant to be like, there's meant to be something wrong with her mentally.
Well, that's the other thing that this movie gets heavily criticized for, because there is multiple incidents of them dropping the hard R, which is not socially acceptable in 2023.
But back then it was.
Back then it was something that was widely used in just sort of general chit chat. It's not something that
back then you'd say it to your mate if he dropped something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, there will still be people out there who do exactly that. But I think we've just all moved on somewhat as a society. And that is no longer an acceptable term. So these are things that are criticised in this movie. I don't personally think it's something that should be levelled against the movie too much. 1999 was a different time.
Yeah. God, that was them being polite. I know they used to use worse slurs than that.
But one of the things I think I do like about this movie is that, like, the person who uses that in this movie gets called out for it. The neighbor who's played by Frank, who's played by Kevin Dunn, actually calls the guy out on it and says, don't say that. What I also like is the actress who plays Samantha is Jennifer Morrison.
She's a very good actress.
She's gone on to have a really, really, really good career.
Yeah.
Especially sort of. I think she's more sort of based on like TV shows now. I know she was like she was in House, I think, for almost all of it. If not,
she was the main one in Emma Swan, by the way.
Yeah.
Once Upon a Time.
I think she also played like a relatively big role in How I Met Your Mother. So she's gone on to have a pretty successful career. She is a really, really good actress.
Is she not Captain Kirk's mum as well?
Possibly. I think you might be right. Um,
Or is it? I remember she's one of the Kirks.
she's Winona Kirk.
Winona, which one's that?
I have no
Ah,
idea.
that's some other, is it?
Yeah, I think so.
Uh,
Anyways, Boomer says if he can
God,
start
I've got to hand him a Tretty card for that. I've forgotten to show up.
Boomer says if he can start looking like a sexy bacon, he's gonna go dig a hole.
That just reminded me. Graham Norton had Kevin Bacon on. Have you seen the Bacon Love like thing?
No, do I want to?
So you know that "Feel Like Making Love," do 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 that song.
Yeah.
But somebody's changed the words to "Bacon Love,"
All right. Okay.
and then superimposed his face and like somebody else's face on stickmen having sex. It is one of the funniest things you'll ever see in your life.
Fair
God.
enough.
It's on the Graham Norton show.
Boomer also says the movie did decide to go there, which was not something a lot of other films during that time period were. A lot of other films during that time period were not willing to do. The darkness he means in terms of like obviously the dark subject matter that we were talking about, not the insensitivity.
The breaking the nails, the fucking
yeah, it's like it's really
out.
it's a brutal like in like because this is one of those movies that there will be people out there who'll be like, huh, Stud of Echoes, that's not a horror movie. It's one of those movies that probably you could be like, oh, it's like a horror thriller sort of thing. It's more of that kind of movie. And it's not a particularly brutal movie up until that point, which I think is possibly what they were going for. Because then that movie is absolutely brutal, like you say. That's when she's breaking the nail. Excuse me, getting her tooth knocked out. You actually get a POV view of her like suffocating to death. Like it's fucking brutal.
Point of view as well from her being raped as well.
Yeah.
But you say that's like one of the most brutal bits. What about the bit where he's got the gun and it's like, what is he doing again? He's like rubbing blood all over himself and stuff.
Yeah.
When he gets that image.
Yeah.
That I did not see coming.
Yeah.
Like that was.
There is
It
definitely
was a mental bit.
There is definitely a point in this movie where you've got Kevin Bacon discovering that he's got these abilities and feeling like he's got this sort of purpose and this mission and that sort of driving a wedge between him and his family, and that's where the discord sort of comes for a lot of this movie. But it does very much in that third act just seem to flip on a coin, doesn't it? And just
it
just goes like
the shooting.
It just goes fucking balls to the wall. What do you obviously like say? We get the big reveal that it was the sons. We also get the reveal that the fathers knew about it and covered it up. Was that a surprise? Was that a surprise to you, or was that sort of whole ending? Did you feel that was predictable, or did you figure it out?
See, I knew nothing about this movie when I went into it, so I didn't know anything at all about the spirit stuff, anything, right? Mm-hmm. And the whole thing when the fathers, like it was revealed with the fathers, I remember being shocked at him just saying what it was.
Yeah.
And then you're thinking he's the one that's going to kill Bacon as well at that time. It's a good way to do it.
I think for me, what I don't even know if predictable is the word, but what's probably a bit formulaic for me is the fact that it was your pals that actually did it, and to me that wasn't like the huge shock. What was the surprise is exactly what you were saying there, is in that moment you think that he's going to get killed by the first friend that he talks to, but in actual fact he's the one who saves the day.
I like that. That's a nice twist.
Yeah, that seems to be the twist in there, doesn't it? And that kind of saves the ending for me, because once you get that sort of brutality of those scenes with the shooting and the rape scene and everything else,
where they're giving the beat down and you can tell they're going to put him in a fucking wall.
Yeah, I think that was a nice twist, because I think like I say, it might not have been necessarily predictable, but I didn't think finding out it was his pals and his pals' sons, I didn't think that was particularly shocking. So I just felt like, given the brutality of those scenes, that the movie was probably in danger of starting to fizzle out at that point.
Because at that point, as soon as you saw the rape and everything, before you as soon as you knew what was going to happen with the rape and everything, you knew that's why he shot himself at that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You'd already worked it out at that point, and working out that it was his mate that was there as well. It took two of them to do it.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, you know what I mean? It's a bit fucked up.
Yeah,
like
it's pretty fucked up.
Yeah, because I'm trying to put it in better words than that, but you really can't. It's a fucked up ending. Like, this whole movie is a bit of a mind twist, but in a light way.
It's just an odd one. Like it maybe it kind of goes with the whole theme of like hypnotism, because obviously that's what triggers all of this movie, is the fact that, you know, he gets hypnotized at the beginning of the movie, and maybe just that it's maybe trying to make you kind of feel like how Kevin Bacon's character is feeling, because he doesn't really know what's going on. He's confused as fuck, but everything just seems a little bit weird and a little bit off. You know, it's you know, maybe trying to get you into that sort of mindset of the movie.
Like, even if stuff with the copper seems fucking creepy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like when he's like, is he not like waving at the kid and smiling at him, and you're like, it's a bit pedo-y, it looks like.
Yeah, when he's in the graveyard.
Yeah.
Can I just say though, every movie made better with bagpipes. Thank you very much.
Just wish your football was the same.
I know, anyway. Tell me about it. Anyways,
we didn't just watch our national fucking team get beat by our national rivals.
No, that's fine though. It will when they can only beat us when it doesn't matter. Anyways, catching up with chat. Boomer says, I think this has my favourite hypnotism scene in it. Newman says, great performance from Kevin Dunn as Frank. He's always solid. And Boomer also says, it's been a while since I've seen it, but I remember it being really creepy. Yeah, that's it. Like that's just how this movie is. There's not a load of blood and gore and guts. There's not a lot of death in this movie, but there's just that underlying tone all throughout. You're not quite sure what's going on. I think Kevin Bacon delivers a really, really good performance here as well.
Yeah.
Which is funny because that racist that I was talking about earlier says that Kevin Bacon's shit in this. And actual fact, I think this is a really great performance from Kevin Bacon. Because in actual fact, I'm not a massive Bacon fan. I don't actually like a lot of stuff that he's in. I think sometimes he can be a little bit cheesy.
See, Kevin Bacon is one of those actors. He's exceptionally good at doing serious stuff. Like, I'm trying to remember the name of it. Sleepers. Like, that is a movie that, if you don't break your heart at the end of that movie...
We all know that Kevin Bacon's best movie is R.I.P.D.
But no, like that one I'm going on about is touchy subject matter. Again, it's based on like the whole Boston kids being abused thing.
Yeah. By
priests and stuff like that in Borstals. And it ends up being the priest is a nice guy in that one.
So I'm not laughing at that. I'm laughing at the chat.
What is it?
Boomer says, if I find out you don't like Tremors.
And next week we're doing Tremors. No,
I've never done Tremors actually on in my podcasting life. It's definitely something that we need to do at some point.
Do you know it was going to be called Graboids to start with?
Yeah, it was going to be called Graboids. Yeah. I did know that.
Like, that just sounds like somebody going about grabbing folks' nuts.
It sounds like Hemorrhoid Sister.
Yeah. It's I've got a graboid on my left nut.
Oh, that sounds like a good Saturday night to me.
But no, back to the serious part I was doing.
Yeah, so we were literally talking about something so fucking serious.
We're talking about paedophilia instead, and then you just started laughing. It was quite disturbing. Anyway, so he can take on serious roles like that. He can actually make them his own. Like, he plays one of the most vicious, evil cunts in that movie, and does it so much so you want to see him be burnt at the fucking stake. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's that type of role, and does it to perfection. And then, funnily enough, the other one I was going to go to is Tremors, where he plays an absolute fucking imbecile and does that to perfection as well.
Yeah. He is... I don't know what it is, like... I get what you're saying. I'm not sitting here saying that Kevin Bacon's a bad actor. He's just not
I'm,
someone.
I'm saying the opposite. I think he's an
No, no,
exceptionally
no.
good
I'm saying this
actor.
is what I'm saying. Like, because that's just something about like I just haven't ever quite quite related to. I don't know if it's related's the right word. There's just something that's made me like be there and be like, you know what, like you're just not like my favorite actor in the world. I don't ever really think he does a super bad job, but um, he's just never. There's always going to be other people up there above me. Having said that, I think he does a really really good performance here instead of Echoes.
Kevin Bacon plays one of the best villains in Hollow Man, I think.
Hollow Man is another. Yeah, you're right. You know what? That's one that I tend to forget about sometimes. Hollow Man, yeah, he's very good in that.
Also, fucking rapey as fucking that.
Oh
What
yeah.
is it with? Like, he's in a lot of movies about people being raped, to put it that way.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Because I've just put that together right now.
Yeah. Yeah. We maybe should not go any further for risk of being sued at this point. I think we're fine. I don't think
You'll go into touchy subject matter, is what I'm trying to say.
I don't think Kevin Bacon listens to Pod of the Damned. If he does, if he does, he won't anymore because I've just said I don't really like him as an actor.
I love him. See, if it come out that he was one of them folk back in the day with Epstein and shit, I'd be heartbroken.
Would you be devastated at that one? Would you?
I would, because I like I've loved Kevin Bacon ever since he was. I did the Bacon love thing. That's why I'm telling you, go look it up. No,
How many do you have? Any degrees of bacon? What was it? Degrees of bacon?
it was 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Do you have any? Well, you've spoken to Alex Vincent, so you must be able to have a degree of bacon. You've met a couple of celebrities in your time. You'll have a degree.
There's about to be one of them knows Kevin Bacon. Yeah, true enough.
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think.
But was his name 6 degrees? His one was like 4
degrees?
or something.
This is okay. So for Boomin or Newman, who's in the chat, you've spoken to Alex Vincent. Is there a degree of Kevin Bacon there between Nico? I interviewed Naomi Grossman, so maybe there's a degree of bacon for me as well. So do some work. Doesn't have to be right this second, but that's a challenge for you two to figure that out. Anyways, probably should get back to the movie.
Yeah.
I am no a big fan of this sister-in-law.
Aye. Like, she seems a bit of a cunt when he goes to her and is like, aye, fix me. And she's like, well, I just thought a date to see if it would happen.
And then she's like, also, I'm baked as shit.
Aye.
What no?
And
what?
also, I got told not to do it.
Yeah. What pisses me off, right, is at the very beginning of the movie, she's like, oh, by the way, she's up the duff.
Aye.
And it's like, that's not your place to say.
Aye. She's a cunt with that one.
I'd be livid. If I was her sister, I'd be livid.
But she did got a beer in her hand. And I was like, drinking during pregnancy?
It was 1999.
Even then, it was frowned upon.
Frowned upon?
It was frowned upon. Couldn't stop them, but it was frowned upon.
Exactly. But yeah.
Remind me at the end of this podcast. I'm sorry for interrupting. You can cut this bit out. But remind me at the end of
We're live, Nico. I can't cut out live.
I know. They'll be fine with it. But remind me at the end to tell you the other request I got today that I am pissing myself laughing and dying for you to see.
Oh, are we actually going to do it?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I've seen it and I'm broken with it.
Okay, I definitely will. There's that one. There's only really one other thing that I want to talk about, and it's the character of Maggie. Actually, there's two other things I want to talk about. Sorry, character of Maggie.
Right.
I kind of talked about earlier how there's no real sort of consequence for Kevin Bacon, right up until the very sort of end of the movie. Maggie, I don't know how to feel about her as an overall character. She kind of sticks by him because obviously she doesn't leave him, but they kind of do and they don't. Like their whole relationship there, it seems to be like a bit wishy-washy. There's a point where the sister does say, "Oh, yous are like the best couple I know," but their relationship does seem to kind of never really have that whole sort of solid foundation, because right at the beginning Kevin Bacon's sitting there being like, oh, like I can still promise you the world even though I've never given you anything, And like, there's just something weird about their dynamic.
Yeah. Like,
Can I hold on just 1 second? So Alex Vincent is in the Chucky TV series with Jennifer Tilly, who was in Bound with Joe Pantoliano, who was in Mr. Roberts with Kevin Bacon.
4? It's a 4? It's a 4?
You've got 4 degrees of separation from Kevin Bacon.
Yep.
Thank you, Newman. Yeah, they do seem
Mr.
to
Footloose himself.
they do seem to have a very sort of weird dynamic.
Oh, I just worked out the thing. 10-year gap between me and you.
Yeah.
The 10-year gap, you know what that is?
What?
Footloose. Like, 80s kids loved Footloose. Like, it was on every 6 months on TV on at least one channel. And we only had 4 channels. So every kid had seen that.
I grew up on 5 channels.
5 channels was when I was a teenager, man.
I had a whole 5th channel.
I remember having to tune in TVs for people because they were old and didn't understand how to
I
tune
remember
in
how to
TVs for
tune in
Channel
a
5.
TV. You're not that much fucking older than me.
No, I'm saying I remember I had to tune them in for older people who had no fucking clue.
Oh, right, okay.
I was a teenager that were like, Nick can do it, just send him round. So you'd be in some house that you've never been before, tuning in a TV, like, you alright?
I would. The simple fact that, people called you Nick is like weird as fuck to me.
It was horrible.
I'm never gonna call you Nick.
No. I don't like it. I'm legally gonna change it.
To Nico.
Yep.
Okay, good. Even though your name's not even Nick.
I know, it's Nicholas.
It's Nicholas. I would rather call you that.
Spelt CH, not with a K.
Yeah, I'd rather call you that than call you Nick.
Nah.
No, okay. Anywho,
I do prefer Nicholas to Nick. I'm not gonna lie.
Anyways, yes, they have a very weird dynamic. Does Tom and Maggie in this movie? I don't know, when you were watching the movie, how do you feel about them, as a couple?
They seem like that couple that it's like they'll only speak to each other when they need to, or if they're fucking. That's it. Like, how creepy is that bit when they're shagging, actually?
Yeah. And she thinks, oh, he just wants me to be more kinky. So she's like, I'll show you, freaky.
Aye! It's like, oh, Jesus. Like, that bit is disturbing. But, the other disturbing scene that got me was Finney's listen to his music and the whole place is covered in plastic. Because that just has the feel of a death room. You know what I mean?
It was very Dexter, wasn't it?
Yes, that's exactly what I was feeling when I rewatched it. It was very Dexter-esque. I expected the ghost to be boogieing over with a fucking picture of the boy that killed her again. Here's what you're getting, alright, mate. Stop. Right, it's just a creepy movie, alright. Yeah. Sorry, I just get thrown off.
No, it's fine. The last point that I want to make, a question I want to ask: how do you feel about this kid as the child actor in this movie? Because I've seen a lot of praise online from critics for him, and
I thought he did it quite well.
Again,
for back then.
Yeah, I think maybe when you're looking at child actors, you possibly do have to take in the time of the movie into account, don't you?
Yeah, because back then there wasn't that much kids that were decent actors. I'm not gonna lie, because most of them were just little shit.
Well, they were also all getting compared to what's his face from The Sixth Sense. What's his name? Is it Haley Joel Osment or something?
Well, this one wouldn't have been, because this one was same year, but
Well, that wasn't his first role though, was it? He'd been in a couple of things before as well.
Did he?
Had he? I'm sure he had.
I genuinely can't mind.
Anywho, never. Anyway, you think that as child actors go, he was pretty decent.
Yeah, I think he was decent. Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to get your
Don't get me wrong, he's not exceptional, but for back then he was good. You little shit.
Haley Joel Osment, I got his name right. I just want to quickly have a look and see if he has was in anything before.
TV stuff before it?
Possibly. I just want to have a quick look. He's been in a fucking ton of stuff. He's got 112 acting credits to his name, which is pretty fucking good. So he was in, obviously, in 1999, he was in The Sixth Sense. He'd actually been in a ton of stuff, mostly TV stuff. But he was in Forrest Gump in 1994, which was his first movie.
Shit.
So
I actually forgot he was in Forrest Gump.
Yeah, there you go. Anywho, when we're catching up with chat, Boomer says there are a lot of terrible couples out there. He had 3 channels when he was growing up: CBS, PBS, and whatever that public television station was. I don't fucking know, Boomer. And the child that
Boomer, which one was there was always one channel.
Was the one that had the dirty programs on it?
No. Which one was the one that would always be like extreme, like everything is extreme, that, and it also would have had the horror movies on that channel. Which channel was that?
Ours was mine was Channel 5 on a Thursday night.
See, when it was 4 channels, it was Channel 4 on a Friday.
I remember Channel 4 still, even I think up until I was a teenager, showing things like Eurotrash.
Eurotrash.
Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
What a bizarre program that was.
Yes, I remember.
See, for anyone, I don't even know if that was broadcast like anywhere else. Was that broadcast across Europe? I don't fucking know. But I know for a whole generation of people out there here in the UK that just me mentioning that and you doing that tune, we have just triggered something in a lot, especially especially men, I think. That could be the thing. You know what? That's the question or the task for the week for the listeners, especially the ones that, do you remember Eurotrash? What were your thoughts on it? But if no, well, as Nico said there, what was like your channel that showed like extreme, risque programming, and what day of the week was it on? For Nico, growing up, it was Channel 4 on a Friday. For me, it was Channel 5 on a Thursday.
Yeah, The Word was the one for me as well, and The Girly Show.
The Girly Show. Boomer says, didn't have...
Did you know The Girly Show?
I don't know. I would need to have my memory refreshed.
It was Sarah Cox and 2 other girls. They all became famous. That was the worst bit. They were basically laudettes. They were just like, oh, we drink lager and fucking shag heaps of blokes. It was quite disturbing.
Oh, that's right. Boomer says he didn't have that until later on, but USA was the channel. So channel USA. Newman says USA or Spike TV or FX. Maybe he was spoiled. Risque stuff was saved for paid channels like Cinemax. So they had to pay for their risky stuff. That's America for you, know. These are all prudes.
Well, we had like a fucking thing at the late night. What was it? 10-minute fucking.
The 10-minute preview. You used to get 10-minute previews on the porn channels.
Fucking. They had one.
It was it was always at like 11 o'clock. So
they
like
had a 10-second fucking, if they got so much fucking, I can't remember if it was subscribers or money in it. The 10 seconds, it was a 10-second countdown. Gosh for gosh. It's what they called it. And then they would basically just go, wee! Like literally, wee! And I was
like waiting, hoping that your dad would go to bed early so that you could like flick the channels on Sky.
Fucking mental.
Oh dear. A glimpse into the childhoods of me and Nico.
But I remember folk used to stay up religiously till, it was at 12 o'clock and 1 o'clock, was it?
Was it? I thought it was 11 and 12.
11 was the topless one.
Was
12
it?
and 1 was fully naked clips.
Right.
And I only found out about that because of a girl I was talking to. And she's like, have you seen this? And I'm like, no, but I have now. I'm going to be getting Sky. Because I didn't have Sky at that point.
I remember growing as a teenager, first getting Freeview in my bedroom, because like obviously Freeview must have became a thing like just before I became a teenager. Would that be like early 2000s?
I didn't even really watch Freeview that much. It was just the normal channels I used to watch.
We
Because
so
by
we're,
that point,
like
I
when
got
but when did it
easily.
stop being like just the 5 channels and suddenly you had like all these channels that were available for free for everyone? You had to have like a box at this point. Like now
Yeah,
it's like mandatory. Everyone here has to get like
it's in
those.
your TV now.
It's in your TV now. But
Yeah,
I can't remember when. I think that maybe was like early 2000s. Maybe a little bit wrong, but I remember the first time I got that in my bedroom and like just be thinking I was so spoiled for choice because I could have access to like 20 channels, and a few of
yeah,
them, because they weren't your terrestrial TV shows, could show things that the others couldn't.
yeah. Fucking mental.
So we tripped down memory lane. Anyways, Nico, have you got anything else about Stud of Echoes? Just in case you've forgotten, that's what we're talking about today.
No, no, not at all.
Have you got anything else you'd like to bring up about Stud of Echoes?
Yeah, so as I was saying, this was like massive with women. Like, I mean, massive. Like, I swear I didn't play on the no, I've not seen it card. Oh, I'm quite bored now. Let's do something else. I never played that card when this was on. I swear,
Mm-hmm.
much. Uh, like, yeah, it's a great movie. Stick your tongue down my throat.
Oh dear.
Uh, it was basically what it was like.
I good.
So yeah, but it was because as soon as you said you liked this as a male, they were like, "Oh, my last boyfriend hated it." And it was like, yeah, fair enough. Or my husband hated it. That was even more disturbing.
Jesus Christ, Nico.
So yeah,
Okay.
it was a lot of girls' fantasies. Kevin Bacon topless.
Yeah. Apparently, a lot of men's fantasies as well.
Oh yeah, according to Graham Norton,
Yeah. Anyways, shall we move on then?
aye, go for it.
Right, let's move on and talk about a little bit of trivia. As always, we'll start off with the finances. According to IMDb, this movie had a budget of $12 million and gross worldwide $21.1 million. So, if you usually go with the fact that a movie then has what, about half to 3/4 of its budget again in marketing. This movie really didn't make a chunk of money, but we're probably putting that down to the fact that, as you said earlier, its release date got pushed back due to a world event that took place, and the fact that it was going up against The Sixth Sense, would probably cause a huge amount of financial struggle for this movie. So that's probably why also there's no need really for a follow up to this anyway. But as you know, if you have a huge success in the horror world, a franchise or a sequel is usually soon to follow.
Yeah.
So
This has got a sequel, does it?
this does have a sequel, yeah. It's Rob Lowe who's in it.
Jesus.
I've not seen
Just
that
go for
one.
another 80s heartthrob, why don't you?
Yeah. For as much as I don't like Kevin Bacon as an actor, Kevin Bacon is a significantly better actor.
Yeah.
I think even Rob Lowe would probably agree with that.
100%. Sorry, my cats are going weird.
Oh,
I think there's been a ghost.
they're just like you.
Yeah.
Just a couple of bits of trivia. I don't have a huge amount.
I have one. Don't steal it.
You go first then.
Right. I have one bit of trivia. When he kicks the bucket and smashes the window, it was an accident.
Yeah, that was literally what I was just about to read. Yeah,
That's the only bit I've got.
Yeah, so in the scene where Tom gets angry after digging in the backyard and kicks the bucket towards the wall, it was not supposed to hit and break the window. That was a happy accident. It was used in the film as Kevin Bacon stayed in character afterwards and continued the scene.
That's decent.
Yeah, so there you go. Look at that, Nico. I think of the over 100 episodes, even though we haven't officially hit 100 episodes. Out of all the pieces of content that we've released, I think that's possibly the third time that you've actually had a bit of trivia.
See, I used to have them all the time in the last podcast, but then we started doing murder films, and I've got fuck all because I got most of my trivia from chat shows.
Yeah, that's true because on the old show, you mainly did our non-horror movies, didn't you?
Yeah.
We'll just have to bring it back, Nico. We've talked about it.
Yeah, I got asked if we would do it again.
Yeah, I think we're probably going to have to, just by popular demand.
Yeah.
Speaking of popular demand, I actually put it out there on social media what people would like, what old stuff that we used to do would people like us bringing back, and by what actually won far and away. Although non-horror movies did get a good portion of the votes, what actually won by far and away was our top 5 lists.
Fuck. That used to be a good laugh, eh?
Yeah, and we've done one on this show ages ago. We did the top 10. Was it top 10 80s? We did a top 10 80s quite a while ago. That was way back in the early days of this podcast. But
Try to think what I would have picked for the winner for an 80s.
I could I think you'll have picked Halloween 3.
No, definitely not. That would be in my worst 5.
Okay. Okay. People also, well, for people who are also out there, not only did we release our top 10, but we also released our individual bottom 10. And for once, Nico, me and you agreed our bottom rated movie was the same. We both have Troll 2 at the bottom.
Yeah.
But I took a lot of stick for Halloween 3 still being so far down our leaderboard.
Oh, we can change that and make it go lower.
We do have our re-ranking episode coming up relatively soon. Anyways,
like if you like Halloween 3, you've got daddy issues.
People do. Newman just called us bastards.
Is it because of the Halloween 3 thing?
I think so.
Do they have daddy issues?
I need to leave that for Newman to answer. Anyways, in the hypnotism flashback scene, there's a scene of a safety pin being stuck through Tom's hand. That was not a special effect. A stuntman was paid to come in and have a safety pin actually pushed through his hand for that scene.
Why the fuck would you do that? That's just stupid.
I mean, that's one way to get past potentially bad special effects, is to just do it.
Saying that, where they push it through, it's not a fucking bad bit of a 9-inch nail through mine.
No, but I don't think it's not a particularly pleasurable experience for anyone, surely, to have a like that pushed right through your hand.
I had this bit here, I've got the bumpy bit that never healed. It went through there, and then I have the dot there, where it came out the other side.
And the final piece of trivia that I've got, when they were setting up the scene where Maggie leaves Jake at her relative's house, it was actually realised that they'd gone over the number of hours that the child actor was allowed to work due to the strict Hollywood child labour laws. So they had to run from house to house in the neighbourhood to find a child that looked similarly enough like him, and then convince their parents to give him a quick haircut to complete the shot.
Shit.
Which they managed.
Can we borrow your kid so we can just
shave his head?
Yeah.
You gets to be in a movie though. Yeah. Gets to have 1 degree of separation from Kevin Bacon.
That and fucking it's Hollywood, so they'd be like, yeah, just spray paint my kid and make him orange and put his hair and like Trump's.
Boomer says you might not be wrong about the daddy issue thing, and Newman says he's a total daddy, and some people have issues with that. Nico, that's definitely something you would say.
I've stewed on that. Oh, I'm nice to say that.
Okay,
I've started, so I'll finish, right?
No, are you sure?
We were in Knox, and do you remember they used to get the saxophone player in Knox? So Knox was a nightclub in Aberdeen, and there was a little, and I mean, this was about that size that the saxophone player used to stand on. It was about that tall, but it spun round. So I was speaking to him, and the bongo guy was in as well. And the bongo guy,
Bongo Dave,
he knew me. He's like, Nico, come here. I'm like, what? He's like, stand on the field thing. I'm like, aye. He handed me a mic, and he's like, just say something funny. I'm like, anybody got daddy issues? Just come see me at the end of the night.
Oh dear God, I'm so relieved that that's what you said, Nico.
I used a politer version.
Okay then, right.
Needless to say, it worked.
I'm sure it did. Right, shall we move on?
Yes.
Okay, let's go into our final segment and talk about the ratings and the reviews. As always, we will start off with the critics' scores. IMDb gave this movie a score of 6.9 out of 10. Metacritic gave it a 6.7. Nico, what do you think the Rotten Tomatoes critics and audience scored this movie?
I don't think critics were high on it, so I'd rate that's about a 60.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of girls liked it, so I'd say about a 70.
Okay. One of them you're spot on.
The 60.
The Rotten Tomatoes critics scored this movie 68%, and the
Ooh.
Rotten Tomatoes audience scored it 70%.
I'm actually impressed
So
myself.
you're pretty even with the critics you're pretty close. But you have a look at that. So Metacritic 6.7, Rotten Tomatoes critics a 6.8, IMDb a 6.9, the Rotten Tomatoes audience a 7. They are all rating this movie the same thing, and that for me,
And I said 6.57 at the start as well.
and that for me is just a surefire sign, because then we always throw it out to our listeners, and before I'll read the listeners' opinions this week, our listeners on average rated this a 7.1. So it actually goes 6.7, 6.8, 6.9, 7, 7.1. Creepy?
That's
pretty creepy.
That's what I said at the start. I said 6.57.
But for me, when all of those things, because that's 5 different factors that we take in 5 different factors outside of our own opinions into account.
Yeah.
For every movie we do, and the fact that those 5 different factors have pretty much all scored this almost exactly the same, usually is a surefire sign that the movie is exactly where they say it is.
That's quite disturbing, actually.
Yeah. Critics' consensus on Rotten Tomatoes says Kevin Bacon's acting is so genuine that it's creepy, and director David Kopp knows how to create true suspense.
Yes.
Some of our listeners, we've just got a few here. The Movies for Days podcast. Who are they? I don't know who they are. There's not. I've never heard of them before. No, I'm only joking. Sorry, Newman.
What a dick.
The Newman from the very, very excellent Movies for Days podcast gave it an 8 out of 10. A great modern day ghost story that doesn't get lost in a lot of contrived, uninteresting fluff. Excellent performances, well constructed tension, a lived in tone and shooting style that makes the paranormal feel grounded and Chicago feels small. Plus, that little kid is creepy. Deborah B on Twitter says this is one of my faves, 9 out of 10. Almost nothing I'd change, even after multiple viewings. It hasn't lost its creepy feel. Really love the cemetery scene when things start to come together for the mum. The Jacked Up Review Show podcast gives it a 7 out of 10, very taut and intelligent. And Andrew Connor says, first DVD I ever got. Came with the DVD player. Been years, but if I remember correctly, it was cashing in on the Sixth Sense style of movie. Not terrible. Incorrect, but okay. That's the thing, isn't it? Like for people, they're always just going to think that that was the case, that it was cashing in on the Sixth Sense, which is not the case at all. But Newman, probably a cunt. Movies for Days, terrible name. Absolutely not. As I said, thank you to everyone who gave us your scores and opinions. The listeners on average gave the score a 7.1 out of 10. And Nico, that just leaves me and you. So on a scale of 0 to 10, what would you rate Stir of Echoes?
I really want to change my score right now.
Well, what were you what are you thinking of giving it? And then tell me why you
give it a 7. I was going to give it a 7 because it's above average, but it's not the bang, like it's not the big blockbuster type movie.
Yeah.
Like other ones were. It is a good movie, don't get me wrong, and I would recommend it. But I just find it creepy that it's all 7. Now, fuck it, I'll stick with 7.
Are you sticking with 7?
Yeah, fuck it. Because I'd recommend it to folk, put it that way. As you can hear, my cat's going mental in the background.
Stop speaking about Stir of Echoes. That's what they're saying. That's what they're saying. We've had enough. We've had enough of you bloody podcasting. Anyways, I was also...
You're a 7 as well?
I was also originally gonna give this a 7.
Stick to it then.
I don't know, like... The thing is with this movie, right? I think this movie's got a really, really interesting premise, and I think, if you were someone who was just of that opinion, that this is a Sixth Sense ripoff, then you would be inclined to maybe give it a bit of a lower score. But knowing full well that it's not, and all those things that it gets compared to, the Sixth Sense, The Shining, etc., it isn't ripping off any of those. And in actual fact, especially in the case of The Shining, it's actually in reverse. I think this movie doesn't get anywhere near the credit it deserves. It's got a really interesting premise. It doesn't.
Creepy little
I
bastard.
see your cat in the background. It doesn't deserve to be forgotten the way that it does. There is something that's just a little bit off that makes you feel a little uneasy about the movie. It's certainly not a perfect movie. I just kind of appreciate what they were trying to achieve here. So I'm gonna give it. I think it's just a touch bit better than a 7. So I'm gonna give it a 7.5.
You're just changing that because you don't want it to be like 7777777.
God forbid I be generous to a movie, Nico.
Yeah, like you're not the generous one here.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm incredibly generous with movies who deserve it.
What are you like?
Boomer says 7.83 just to annoy you.
And it was at this point I realised I hate Boomer.
No, don't say that about Boomer. Boomer, there's a guest spot opening up in like 2 weeks' time because Nico's going on holiday.
Actually, that is actually I forgot.
So time to come on and get your revenge again and just badmouth the shit out of Nico for 2 hours. Anyways, all of our scores combined with you guys, the listeners, and the critic scores gives Stirred Echoes an average score of 7 out of 10. How did you know, Nico? How did you know? You said what, 40 to 50? We said you were going to place it. Boomer said it was going to come in 39th place. Stir of Echoes is in 38th place on our leaderboard. So, Boomer, you were pretty much spot on there with a score of 7 out of 10. It gives it the exact same scores as The Conjuring, Slither, and Doctor Sleep.
Fuck. So, yeah, I could see that.
And the thing is, as well, you know what? Again, barring obviously a few outliers, which we might address in our re-ranking episode.
Yeah.
It's literally the whole point of our scoring system, because I think, you know what? Looking at the 83 movies we've now done, I think that's where it should be.
Yeah.
If this movie was a top 50, no offense, Newman, I know you said you loved this movie, but I think if this movie was a top 50, did end up in the top 15, I genuinely wouldn't think it would deserve to be there. However, having said that, if it was much lower, I would think, it should be higher.
Yeah. Because it's like, what was the ones like? It's definitely better than Thingy. What's it called? Conjuring.
Well, and Boomer also agrees with you on that. He says you would rather watch Doctor Sleep and Slither. Boomer, come on now. But it's much better than The Conjuring. Whereas out of those 3 movies, Slither, Doctor Sleep, and Conjuring, I probably like The Conjuring the most.
See, I'm a Boomer on that one 100%.
But that that's the point where it all does just come down to personal opinion, isn't it? So
yeah.
Anyways, that's gonna do it for the show this week. For those of you who are currently in the chat room, stick around because I'm gonna be staying live possibly for another sort of 30 to 45 minutes. I might see if I can jam a couple of games in there as well. So stick around because the stream's not gonna end there. Nico's away to go to bed because he's an old fuck.
I'm up in fucking 6 hours.
Well, you asked to try and keep it a shorter episode. I think we're about 25 minutes shorter than normal, so I've saved you 25 minutes, Nico.
That's true.
But it's time to reveal, Nico, what we're going to be talking about next week, and I am so excited to talk about this.
This is definitely your pick.
I'm so excited to talk about this. It's my pick, and next week we're talking about Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. How excited are you, Nico, to talk about this?
I'm not sure, because one person I spoke to said this is like the greatest thing ever, and they normally like the same shit as me, but everybody else is saying it's a crock of shit.
There's a sequel coming next year.
So what is it? Piglet Goes Wild.
It's not Piglet Goes Wild. It's Winnie the Pooh 2. It's Winnie the Pooh Blood and Hunger 2.
Blood and Hunger too.
Yeah. Electric Boogaloo. Newman says, I'm gonna tweet a Wren leveled screen tearing that movie down. Please do. There'll be posts going up on our social media tomorrow asking for everyone's opinions on Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey, so please give us your scores and reviews for that movie. We'll be broadcasting that movie on Saturday afternoon this week, I believe, instead of Sunday.
Yes.
Yes? Either Saturday or Sunday, whatever works best. I think we said Saturday.
I think so, I can't remember.
That'll be getting broadcast on Saturday. This episode in Stir Echoes, I'm away to go and edit once I come off the actual stream in about 45 minutes. Boomer... If it's not called Pooh number 2, they missed a trick.
He's got a point.
How did I not think of that? How did I not think of it? That is incredible.
Theme tune would be Brown Sugar.
Oh dear. Oh no.
Okay there?
That's really tickled me. That's like...
You okay? You got a high pitch. You've got a couple octaves higher.
That's really tickled me. Anyway.
So, has Boomer seen it?
I don't know. I don't know if Boomer's seen it or not. Let us know. So yeah, anyways, that's what we're going to be talking about on Saturday. This episode, once I've come off the stream, I'm going to go and spend the rest of the night editing because this episode's coming out tomorrow. So I've got a bit of work to do. But thank you, Nico, once again for joining me.
Cool, thanks for having me on again.
No worries at all. Thank you to everyone for chatting away, for everyone to give us your opinions. And until next week on the Pod of the Damned, Nico, just remember.
Oh, you want me to do it again? You said you wanted me to do it once. That was it.
I thought we were just going to carry on with that.
No, it's fine.
Oh, until next week, Eldra, would you want me to lead you back in?
No, I just want to look in disgust at you while you do the cheesiest line in the world.
Okay. And until next week on the Pod of the Damned, just remember, you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't.